All right, all right, all right.
Are we live?
Yeah.
We are?
Yeah,
Well,
although...
why don't I see anything on the screen?
Well, that would be because, that's delayed. And
Oh.
That's the one that's actually, happening right now.
Oh.
Yeah. I figured, better than just staring at ourselves.
I think I'd rather stare at myself, though. In real time.
I mean, you are kind of narcissistic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that makes sense.
Kind of? Why are you so far close? Do I need to scoot out?
No.
You sure?
Well, let's find out. Does the camera think you're a little close? Nah. The camera thinks you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, hello and welcome back to Dallas Geek. Of course, this would not be a regular live show if we weren't at least a little discombobulated, I believe is the term, at the beginning. But now, we're here.
Sure.
Yeah. How you doing, Mike?
I'm here.
That's good! But guys, seriously, thank you so much for joining us today on this lovely, lovely Sunday afternoon. It is kind of an odd time to start.
Sorry.
It's kind of an odd time to start. But you know what? 2:30, 3 o'clock, it's Sunday. I think it all is relative at this point.
I don't think anybody's being productive at this time on a Sunday.
No. Especially not us.
Oh, God. Or anybody that we know.
Yeah. But with that, thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first time checking us out, thank you very much. Don't forget, if you have not already, to please don't forget to like and follow us over on Facebook if you're not already watching us there. To like and subscribe. And of course, hit the notification bell over on YouTube. The notification bell is definitely the important part of that whole process.
Smash it. Smash it like the kids say.
Yeah, because, if you don't hit the notification bell, YouTube is not necessarily going to tell you when we go live or post new videos. So,
Which is super helpful. Thanks, YouTube.
I know.
Aren't they owned by Google?
Isn't everybody?
Explains it.
But yeah, and of course, if you want to check out more of our content but don't always have time for the videos, you can always catch the audio from our interviews, live shows, and our audio exclusive podcasts coming out most Thursdays. I would say all Thursdays, but if you've been noticing lately, we've missed a couple weeks. So most Thursdays over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, and Stitcher. Because, the algorithm.
My fantasy football team is kicking ass today.
How many times do we have to talk about this wrong nerd thing to obsess about right now?
This is bad. This is like Cosby levels of bad.
Dude. We don't have a functional censor button.
Well, it says uncensored on the little...
Uncensored.
The description.
Sorry,
there we go.
I probably should have put quotation marks around that because it's Google uncensored. YouTube uncensored.
Have you just done a random Google search and seen what comes up? Nothing is censored on Google search.
YouTube uncensored. That's not very uncensored.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
Unless you're demonetized, then you can basically just do whatever the hell you want.
and we prefer not to be, so...
We don't?
Typically.
No.
Typically, yeah.
Fair.
But with that, Mike, what are we talking about today?
My fantasy football team and how it's kicking ass? No? That's for
Seriously,
next. Okay.
wrong nerdy thing.
Oh, then I guess we're talking about Fan Expo, which was 2 weekends ago now?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 weekends ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, after the last week that I had at work, all the days are just a giant amalgamation of...
Just the last week? I thought that was like every week.
This week specifically.
Yeah. It's fair.
I've done things. I'm not proud of them.
Are you ever? Well, fair enough.
Moving on.
With that, yeah, so Fan Expo, that was 2 weekends ago now. It was the first major convention to actually be held in North Dallas. I guess it wouldn't really be North Dallas, it would just be Dallas, Dallas.
Yeah. Why? Why haven't they been having conventions, Brad? Say it.
Crow towing.
No, that's something totally different. That was actually deadly.
Wow. The zombie apocalypse.
No, I'll give you that one. Starts with a C.
A Zack Snyder film has been recording?
Did you watch Army of the Dead?
Are you kidding?
Oh, it's such a piece of shit.
No.
God,
No, I have not.
I put myself through it. Just can we stop calling him a visionary director now? Like, we can just get over that bullshit, right? Like, we're done with this little charade that he's like the next Spielberg, or that he's such a visionary that like every time he attaches his name to something, it's a masterpiece. We're done with that, right? If Sucker Punch didn't do it,
it depends. Is Warner Brothers still going to keep giving him, tens of millions of dollars, or hundreds of millions, as it seems to be, to do whatever the heck he wants?
Well, this was Netflix. This wasn't Warner's. I don't know if he does anything with Warner's outside of.
Yeah, you understand the Netflix thing happened because of.
Well, I mean, you're not.
Anyway, enough Zack Snyder hate for today.
Jesus.
But yeah, no. So Fan Expo happened finally, and for a lot of people out there, this was the first opportunity in a while to be able to get out and get back into the bigger nerdy community, not online,
Right.
and to be able to really kind of let loose a little bit. And while we did not get the opportunity to go to any of the after parties, from what we heard,
yeah, I'm in my mid-30s. I ain't doing that.
Yeah, from what we heard, there definitely were after parties, and they happened and were a thing. And I try to pretend like I knew even half of the craziness there, but like you said, we're in our mid-30s at this point. I feel like even if we tried to fake it, it would be obvious.
Yeah.
So
I will say the one good thing that has come out of, after parties and all those people is we haven't really seen in the community much talk of a outbreak or much talk of people popping up sick, or confirmed cases of people being there and being sick. Which is nice, because the other major convention that happened in recent history was Dragon Con, and that did have some rumors of potential mini outbreaks that came from it. Now, of course, none of them were substantiated by the convention itself, but at this point, who expected it to? I was about to say, I don't know if the convention runners are going to be like, yeah, no, that's totally a thing. I think that's one of those they're just going to kind of bury their head in the sand.
But, I mean, there have been other conventions of various sizes that have started happening now or recently. Right before Fan Expo Dallas, MegaCon Orlando happened, which, of course, is another convention owned by Fan Expo. And just from what we understand, talking to our lovely friend Dee Richards, who is lovely friend, who's a moderator with Fan Expo these days.
I feel like that's being a little generous.
She's a fantastic moderator with Fan Expo these days.
You're really just wow, okay. Going very liberal with the adjectives today, are we?
Wow. It sounded like from the layout of MegaCon compared to Expo Dallas, Dallas was definitely bigger as far as total square footage. And it seemed like it had more that was able to happen here in Dallas.
Yes.
So definitely from the standpoint of a larger convention that was able to happen successfully, with relatively minimal speed bumps along the way, I would have to say Fan Expo Dallas was a success. Now, compared to years past, you have to realize that is with the caveat of it was a success for 2021.
Yeah.
But it was still a pretty solid convention for what could have happened right now. And honestly, I'm kind of glad we went.
I am too. And it's kind of crazy that this one was as big as it was.
Yeah.
In both square footage and attendance. Even more so than MegaCon when you think about the fact that Florida's been pretty much 100% open for as long as they have been.
Yeah, but Florida being 100% open is also a downside for MegaCon.
Now, also keep in mind, 95% of their population is 70 and older.
Well, also, you remember MegaCon, a lot of the attendees do come in from other states.
Well, that's true.
And so, between a lot of people wanting to avoid Florida, but also because Florida this year.
I mean, that's probably where our future president's from. If you think about it.
I try not to. That did kind of put up some barriers for it, even in the best case scenario.
No, yeah.
So I think Dallas had a much better shot, especially because Dallas has a much larger, relatively local population that attends.
Right.
Which was already going to be a big plus.
It's easier to travel from a Fort Worth to a Dallas than it is for...
Yeah. Or Austin, or Oklahoma, or even Louisiana, Dallas is a lot easier to travel to than Orlando.
Right.
It's a much kinder destination as far as getting here goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that, I mean, it's centralized, right? Like, if you look at where they do it every year at Kay Bailey, it's downtown, but, I mean, there's hotels for miles down there. So, I mean, it's easy to basically stay at a place, not spend a gigantic amount of money, and literally walk about 2 city blocks and be at the convention.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, in that aspect, it's really good because it's a very easily accessible building.
Yeah.
And plus, like you said, you know, this is the first time in a long time. I mean, we were talking to, hell, everybody that we talked to that we, you know, have... I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. A working relationship with, if you will. Reoccurring guests.
Working, personal...
Right.
Glancing, sure. All the above.
All of those.
All of the above,
You know, just talking to everybody, it kind of was one of those surreal things where when we got there on Saturday, because I didn't go Friday, you did.
Yes.
I got there Saturday with Kyla. And just walking like the first hour and a half to 2 hours, the number of people that we bumped into that we would see on a semi-regular basis in a normal year, we were like, holy shit, we haven't seen you in like 2 to 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, and...
Like, that's really mind-blowing when you think about it, is these people that, like, you can basically check it off on your calendar. You're going to see them probably once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice a month at times.
Yeah.
It's now like, hey, like, you give somebody a hug and you're like... Holy crap, this is the first interaction we've had in like 2 calendar years. Like, that's really mind-blowing when you think about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that, speaking of the fact that you were only able to make it Saturday, Sunday, missed Friday.
Right.
You know, going in, you know, on Friday, you know, when I was looking around at, you know, what is categorically the busiest part of Fan Expo, the autograph area.
Yep.
You know, that already looked decently busy, but
Right.
It looked, you know, also on the kinder side as well as far as total congestion.
Right.
Which, you know, it kind of made me feel a little bit better about what was probably coming.
Right.
And even once we got to like the height of Saturday afternoon, while it got busy, it didn't get
Insane.
at the same level of chaotic as most years do for that area. Now, I will say, if you saw any of our live streams from the convention, you may have noticed that there was still some significant congestion in parts of the con floor, specifically the main aisle, just right down the center.
Which it happens every year.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much unavoidable.
And honestly, that the big problem with the main aisle and how that's really not possible to fix is because if you're going to be able to try to fit all of the vendors into the amount of space that you have.
Right.
Unless you want to cut back on the number of vendors,
Yeah.
or give the vendors less space for their booths. There's only going to be so much space left over down the center for the main aisle.
Yeah. But like that,
And the side aisles were already a bit on the smaller side
Right.
in certain places,
Right.
so you couldn't really take away more than they already had. And they did a good job at making sure where they could afford it, they gave extra room for people to move, which I really did appreciate.
Yeah. But you had to know that vendor size, vendor-wise, this was probably going to be a pretty cramped show because so many people were going to try to get in because they haven't been able to go to shows for 2 years.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the people that we talked to that we, that we've talked to in the past that we still stay in touch with or whatever, that are vendors and that we've seen regularly, just talking to them, like they've been hurting pretty good for the last couple of years, not being able to go to shows and that kind of stuff. So you knew everybody was going to try to get in there, and they were going to try to get their space, and they were going to try to take advantage of the fact that everybody was going to be out and about and wanting to go through that con experience again for the first time in a while.
100%. And in fact, just to be able to plug in, because we have to. We did a little bit on our live, but to do it again.
Careful.
Jake Goodman. For those of you who have seen some of our older interviews, Jake was actually one of our first that we were able to get back when we first started.
Right.
He was there with his comic Tartarus, amongst other titles that he now has.
Yep.
And he was definitely saying that
Well, just talking
the experience over the past year and a half has been very different. Where he was able to get in, which primarily for him was card shows.
Yeah.
Because trading cards were obviously very popular last year and first half of this year.
You sons of bitches.
It was a lot easier for him to be able to find, that he could monopolize the comic space in a place that no other comic creators were really looking at.
Yep.
So, it was an option when comic shows were not available.
Yeah.
But still, it's nice to be able to have the actual comic shows back.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, look, it was like we said, it was surreal.
Yeah.
It was just awesome because talking to, can we call her a friend?
Which one?
Christina Dark.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Just add us in the comments if that's a little too much. I mean, you are going to officiate my wedding, apparently. Still don't know how the hell that came up.
I do.
When Brad,
we'll get into that.
When Brad gets around to actually, getting the interview out, you'll see.
Oh, that'll be soon.
Okay.
Although we do have one other interview that's going to be coming out this week. We can't really say who it is, but he played a very, very platinum blonde, fangy character for the goth kids out there.
Taylor Lautner?
Fangy.
Robert Pattinson?
Was Robert Pattinson
You-
platinum blonde?
You act like I've seen Twilight.
That's fair. Non-sparkly.
Okay, that's better. You should have brought that up in the interview just to see what he would have done.
I did.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
You should have asked me if he would have replied in character. That would have been great.
But no, it was honestly. But that was definitely one of the highlights of the show. And when that comes out this Friday,
You'll know. Talking with our friend Christina Dark and it kind of went back to that thing where we realized, and we kind of alluded to something that we did with her the last time that we spent time with her doing an interview, but it was back at Fan Days 2018.
Yep.
2019.
19, yeah. Sorry.
So it's 2019. So when you take into account that cosplayers haven't really been able to get out and do much and interact with fans, artists haven't been able to really get out and do much with it. Like, this was something that the community was really clamoring for.
Yeah.
Like, this was something like, it's like Christina said when we were kind of talking before we got into our interview, she was like, she's like, I always joked that I was an introvert, but like, I didn't realize how much I missed people.
Yeah.
And like, when you get to it and like when you showed the autograph section, like, it was just cool to have that experience that, like, I'm standing in line for an autograph, which I did. I stood in line and I got Kevin Conroy's autograph, so Batman signed my pop, and
Well, since I already have his, you missed out.
took every ounce of me to not just fanboy and start crying like a bitch.
Well, you really should have.
Oh, God,
You should have, and then you should have had Mondo get a video of it.
I was just like, you'll always be Batman because you were my first introduction to Batman. Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, don't talk to me, please. You're going to make me cry. Just about how that went. But I mean,
sure.
It was cool because it's literally, we went Sunday. That's the first place I went to get in line, and it was only about 15 to 20 people deep, and just having that ability to stand there and talk to people again.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm standing in line for an autograph. And it's like, oh, what are you going to get him to sign? Oh, I've got this. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I brought this. Oh, okay, yeah. What's your first introduction to Batman? Oh, it was Kevin. It was when I was like 8 and I saw Batman the Animated Series. Like, it was cool to share that with another human being again.
Which I do have to say, it's kind of neat to be able to talk to other fans and be able to have that, have the reverence for him as an actor and as the character that you know him as, but also have a little bit more of a sense of familiarity with him than you have with some other screen actors. To be able to say, oh yeah, it was Kevin, rather than, it's Kevin Conroy. You know, like you would have to say, it's William Shatner. Because, you know, when you hear him talk, he really does have that personable sense to him that makes you just feel so comfortable with him. And even when he's talking to a room full of people, he does it in a way that everybody just feels like you're just chilling listening to that cool professor that you had back in school, that like everybody just wanted to kick back and listen to his stories because he just sounded awesome.
First expo at Kay Bailey, I remember the first Saturday we're walking in there and we walked past him and I was like, that's Kevin Conroy. And he just looked up and he's like, hey, how are you? I just looked at you. I was like, fucking Batman, just like talk to me. What do I do? What do I do?
Language.
Sorry. I was like, what do I do? You're like, say hi back?
Yes.
Oh, right. Hi.
No, it really was great. But I mean,
it was the atmosphere of being with people again.
Yeah.
Not over a Zoom call, not over a Teams, or not over. It was the fact that I was literally standing in line with somebody that I could reach out and like, you're tangibly, physically next to me in the same plane of existence.
Yeah. Like it made a massive difference.
Yes, it absolutely did.
And I will say, it was nice to be able to go and just see everybody else in the community. They're nerding out about the same things, you know, going around and, you had the D&D crowd going through and nerding out over things like
Dice Towers and
Dice Towers from like Nerdsmith Designs, where you could just really go in and have some fun checking out the hard work that went into it, rather than a picture of the hard work that somebody went into it on Etsy.
Being able to tangibly touch like an item.
Which for stuff like this made a massive difference because it was just such good quality.
Absolutely.
But you know, then going in and be able to see something like the Pixel Princess, and
which Kyla got like 3 of these.
Seeing this amazing stuff. You know, these 8 and 16-bit characters brought to life.
But again, being able to actually physically, tangibly be there, seeing them.
And that was like something. Like booths like this were
you don't realize
what
how
I
much...
really loved, because like this was one where you could easily walk by and right at the same time you were starting to kind of verbally nerd out before you could stop yourself. There was always somebody next to you doing the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, you think that? Bro, like is that Charmander? And oh my gosh, is that Ness back there? And like really awesome stuff that, you don't have that experience when you're at home talking to people online, having that kind of like momentary embarrassment of, I didn't mean to kind of squeal out loud until you realize everybody else around you is squealing too.
And that's the thing too, is like that's something that Fan Expo did a really good job of leading up to it, was they kept talking about bringing the feeling of community back.
Yeah.
They kept talking about like, we want the community to feel welcome back. Like we want community. Like it was all about the people.
Yeah.
As Bane would say.
Give it to you, the people. Yeah, and I will say, if you go back and rewatch either of our interviews this year with Andrew, which by the way, seriously, Andrew Moyes, the guy that is the head of Fan Expo, honestly, such an awesome guy to continue to come on our show each time to talk about the convention, because, it's really easy to listen to the things he says and assume that he's just doing the typical corporate shilling of, trying to give all the right buzzwords that the fans are waiting to hear, but you always kind of look out with a jaundiced eye going, you say it's all about the community, but is it really? Like, right. You're just in it for the money. Well, it's a convention. Every convention's in it for the money, officially, but when Andrew says that the theme of the convention this year is about community, and really trying to bring everybody back together, he said it in a way that he genuinely meant it, and you could tell, every aspect of the convention was in some way or another tailored towards trying to help that. And that was nice, because we've talked about it in other recaps of Fan Expo in the past. That's not always how Expo comes across. No. Some years it does get so big and unwieldy that even the parts of the convention that are supposed to be focused on community don't necessarily get that feel, because it's just so massive and outrageous, and just it's difficult to get that same sense of togetherness like you did this year.
It gets lost in the execution.
Yeah.
You don't mean for it to, but when things get so big and there's so many things going on, and there's so many attractions, and this person here and this person there and this and that, it just happens.
Yeah, and that happens at conventions, especially conventions the size of Expo.
Absolutely.
But this year, Expo really benefited from the slightly smaller size, so that they could get that feeling across without any confusion due to the general chaos around. Well, and it really felt like they were being authentic about it.
And it was also just the fact that everybody was so welcoming. Like, all of the featured cosplayers were willing to take time out of their days to talk to us, but also take a picture, stop and talk for a couple minutes. Like, not even necessarily on camera, but just would get out from behind the table and sit there and just have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and like Claude Xavier he was awesome to be able to talk to.
That was a fun one.
I really enjoyed that interview.
You're welcome.
You guys definitely had a lot of fun back and forth with that.
We did.
And then, of course, aside from the incredible Christina Dark,
and her interview, to officiate my wedding.
Seriously, if you guys have not had a chance to be able to meet Christina at one of these conventions, you really need to. She is. There are, like, we've met plenty of cosplayers over the years that are fun people, and they always have something memorable that they'll be able to contribute when you talk to them in person. But Christina is one where she definitely has a special certain something to her that you remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you really remember. She's just very fun. And
she read my cards the last time, and she remembered, which was really weird.
Yeah. No, she's very...
Like, before we even started, she was like, wait. She's like, I read somebody's cards,
she's a real people person.
Yeah, it was the fact that it was 2 years and she remembered that and she was like, "So how'd it turn out?" And me and Kyla were just like,
Yeah.
hands holding. There you go.
Yeah. Although speaking of Kyla,
she was like, "I'm a witch.
I think-
made this happen."
Yeah. I think
Like,
the other
thanks.
interview of ours that was just so great was Kyla's interview with Nana Cosplay.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And she's one that when we released that one, that is, you know how some people
You
get
missed
into
her.
cosplay.
You missed her on Sunday.
What was she?
The best Harry Potter character.
Oh, so
Sarcastically, the best Harry Potter character.
I was about to say, so Dolores Umbridge.
There you go. And
But-
she had the little thing, and she had it motorized so the spoon was stirring itself, or the cup was stirring itself.